Republican Nancy Mace.
There needs to be a special task force that is strictly looking at these files, what happened, when it happened, and who covered it up. Because at the end of the day, none of this matters if nobody goes to jail and if none of these predators are shamed out of existence. When she was asked a tough question, she discussed the Dow and how high the stock market was doing. It's shameful. And I think she should come before the Oversight Committee because I have a lot of tough questions for her.
Joining me now, Megan Hayes, former special assistant to President Biden, and Maura Gillespie, founder of Blue Stack Strategies and previous advisor to former House Speaker John Boehner. It's good to have you both back. So let's start, Megan, with just how poorly did Bondi handle that hearing to warrant this kind of rebuke from Republicans? And did Democrats effectively challenge her?
I mean, I'm not sure if it could have gone any worse for her in the eyes of the public. It was so disrespectful to these members who represent the American people and the people in their district and are there to ask questions on their behalf. And she had nothing but insults and disrespect for not only them personally and attacking them, but for the victims of the Epstein trials. I just don't understand how someone who's the attorney general who is there to enforce the law and enforce the Constitution of our land just got up there and was so disrespectful and so disgraceful, not even representing what she is supposed to be there. I think she's forgetting that these people are actually elected and she is not.
And Maura, I mean, it is not just Republican lawmakers who were unhappy with Bondi in that hearing. Conservative radio host Dana Lash slammed her as well. Take a listen.
This is one of the most embarrassing things I've ever witnessed from a lawmaker. Republicans and Democrats were asking her about Epstein. And the Republicans, it wasn't just Massey. You're talking about Jim Jordan. You're talking about Brandon Gill. You're talking about very genuine conservatives. It was disastrous. And it felt like she kept trying to compliment Trump as a way of availing herself. What does that have to do with it?
So when it comes to politics, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst, how big of a miscalculation has this been for the administration, and is there any way to reverse the damage?
For the administration, I don't think that there is a way to reverse the damage that she has done to the institution and to what it means to go before Congress. If it is just a charade and a opportunity to bow down to Donald Trump for cabinet members who feel like maybe their job is on the line, is that the best use of our taxpayer dollars and our time and our airwaves time? I don't think so. That was a sham of a hearing, and I do think that Jim Jordan did not do justice to his committee and not holding her more accountable, because her outbursts were truly, as Megan pointed out, disgraceful. And it brings shame not only to the position that she holds, but also the people who work there. I also found that her not willing to turn around and face the victims themselves was particularly egregious, and really just made me wonder what the point was entirely of her even being there, because her entire career, she has just embarrassed herself now, because she said she ran to hold criminals accountable and to bring justice to victims, and she wouldn't even face them.
So it sounds to me like you're giving her a 10 on that 1 to 10 scale for this.
If I could go higher, Alex, I would go higher.
Okay, we'll say 11. Yeah. We'll just stop at 11. That's
okay,
good.
Let's go 11.
So, Megan, Representative Mace and other Republicans joined Democrats in their outrage after Bondi was photographed with that note showing Democrat Pramila Jayapal's search history, confirming that the DOJ is tracking what lawmakers look at when reviewing unredacted Epstein files. What is more stunning, the monitoring or the ineptitude of not hiding it?
I mean, there's so many things that are so stunning about all of this. I do think that her not being able to keep facts in her mind and not have to have them on paper to get caught is also really terrible. But the worst offense here is that they are even monitoring these folks. This is a complete lack of separation of powers. I think that they are just forgetting 100% who that they are working for, and it is the American people. But they have an audience of one, and it is Donald Trump. And they are going to do whatever they can to make him happy and to continue to hide these files for whatever reason. It is just, it's unconscionable what they are doing, and it gets worse every single day. Something more and more offensive happens, and it's just disgraceful. We can't wait till this is all out in the open and Donald Trump is no longer president.
So, Maura, we heard Representative Mace say that she wants Bondi to come before the House Oversight Committee. If she keeps having to testify and the pressure keeps mounting, could Bondi be scapegoated over the bad publicity and lose her job? Or is she too valuable implementing Trump's wishes at DOJ for him to fire her?
I think when you see so many conservatives also coming out to say what an embarrassment it was for her to perform in that way, but also just from the start to finish, where she has failed not only the victims, but to keep hold to her word. She came out really strong and pretended as though she had all this information. And then in July, when she more or less said that there was nothing to investigate further, we obviously see that that's wrong and that's incorrect. And so why they can't just hold themselves accountable and address why they may have said that in July. She refuses to answer questions, and I think that's the most frustrating part. So what good would it do to have her come before oversight if she's not going to answer questions? I do think that if Trump continues to see the conservative backlash to Bondi and seeing her as an opportunity to take off some of the heat that he is facing over the Epstein files, he very well may decide to go ahead and let go of Pam Bondi. My concern, though, is who would he replace her